Okay, welcome to Fender P-Bass Mexican build video number 8. All right, off with their heads. The neck has been removed. It's always interesting to see what you find underneath the guitar neck. There's some stamps here. That 1995 is pretty clearly visible there. I think that sure looks like a 1995. So this bass may be newer than I thought. I haven't looked up the serial number or anything like that. I don't even know if you can do that. But anyway, and then on the back of the neck here, where it mounts, there's your, where the truss rod seat is. There's a paper sticker that has worn away. There was probably some codes and stuff put on there. Some markings from, the neck when it was made or what have you. There's, a little sloppy paint here and there. But anyway, the neck is off. I wanted to make a video sooner than I'd planned, not just to show you that, but also to tell you about something else I decided to fix. You can see I've laid the strings off here for a moment. I plugged this in to my amp, and I've got a preamp that I play on my jazz bass that's set to the sound that I like to have, which is a punchy bottom end, bright high ends, some distortion a little bit, but just kind of a good sound. I have to say, when I plugged this bass in, first time, tuned it up, plugged it in, the first thing I noticed is I had to really press to get the input cable. This thing is really tight. When this thing snaps in, it's not coming out, and I'm sure it will loosen over time, but this thing, when it's in there, it definitely gives you some confidence. The pots work fine. One thing I noticed was that the bass sounded good and loud. However, it was very thin on the bottom end, and I was like, well, what in the world's the deal? Well, it didn't take me long to figure out that this neck pickup right here was mashed down into the body so that it was angled like this. Let me show you a screwdriver. So instead of being flat, it was angled like this. So of course the E string, which is picked up by these magnets here, was not getting nearly the love that we were getting down here in the G and the D area. And even the E was noticeably thinner. Well, what had happened was, I noticed that as I was trimming the pick guard to get this to fit, as we talked about earlier, I thought I'd trimmed it enough to clear, but I hadn't. It was pressing down right here on this little ear, was pressing right in this area, and I couldn't tell when I looked at it, so it had mashed this pickup down. Well, no problem, I thought. I'll pull the pick guard off, do a little quick trim, and put it back on, and we should be good. Another problem came up, and that's why I decided to go ahead and shoot this video. These pickups, and I don't know enough about precision basses because I'm a jazz bass guy. I don't know about precision basses, but these precision bass pickups in this bass are not height adjustable. They are applied into the cavity here with some 3M foam tape, 2 layers of it, that they just slapped on there. It looks like it was done by hand. And they basically allow these to feel cushioned like they're adjustable, but over time that tape breaks down. And therefore the pickup just sinks in, and so if you were to loosen these screws to raise the pickup height, it doesn't go anywhere. It stays sunk down. And I thought, well, that won't do. I want adjustable pickups. I mean, I'm in here anyway. Enter the reason I never throw anything metal away. This is a spring, as you can see, and it came off of a lamp like this one. Okay? It's a lot stiffer, but I never throw anything. So I had an old lamp. I took the springs off and harvested them. I took this spring, and it's pretty dense. Let me see if I can see if I flex it. Whoops. I mean, it's got some beef to it. I mean, it's pretty hard to push down. It's a thicker wire. What I did was I grabbed 2 pairs of pliers and I sprung it. So instead of being closed, it now resists. Instead of looking like, well, that one's compressed, but see when I sprung it so that now it's forcing out. And what I did was I took my lineman's pliers, nips, and I cut off 2 pieces off the end of this, about 5 coils, maybe 6. And I threaded these screws through those springs, seated them down in there. And now I have resistance against the screws. And now I have a height adjustable pickup, especially on the neck. This pickup looks great. It's nice and flat. It sounds good. This bridge pickup, I can really tell the difference in the neck pickup. So that's what I did. Kind of a little creative fabrication there. It's probably overkill. It didn't need to be as stiff as it was. My wife actually suggested using ballpoint pen springs. but they're not going to give me the resistance to hold up this big magnet. So now I've got those in there installed, and as you can see now, the pickup is nice and flat. And I did more trimming on the pick guard, of course. It's a good thing it's a pick guard because you can see it's already wearing some spots. There's a scratch there. The file slipped. Oopsies. But it's a pick guard, and it's meant to be played. So that's the status of the body right now. I wanted to show that video. So next steps. Well, I've got my shims. So I'm going to shim the neck. And really, taking the neck on and off is simple. It's 4 big, long wood screws. This is a bolt-on neck. So these wood screws, 4 necks, and then here's the plate on the back. Pretty simple. So it doesn't take much to, and of course, you don't want to be doing this all the time because you don't want to strip this. If you strip this, then, you know, game over. You'll be gluing matchsticks in these holes. Here's the other interesting thing. Look at all the holes in here. I don't know why those holes are there. The only thing I can think of is when they were painting these, they just drilled this into a rack of some kind to hang it so they could spray it. But you know, obviously these are the 4 holes that matter. I'm not sure. They're not insect holes. I thought they might be insects, but they're definitely drilled. And there's been, like I can see in this one, there's been a screw in there for sure. I can see the threads. So kind of interesting. I don't know. Anyway, so we're going to shim the neck. We're going to grab a shim. We're going to reinstall the neck. And I've also adjusted my bridge slightly because I mentioned it was a flat plane. You can see, this is a pretty good shot right here. You can see I have raised the A and the D saddles. They're equal. So it's basically the outside saddles are the same height and the inner 2. This is going to give us a nice, you know, the idea is you want to have something like these gauges here. Let me show you this. Get my finger out of the camera. Claude. Here we go. So this is a gauge here that, you know, you can measure to see what your neck is. You want that kind of a curve, and you know, in every player, some of these are flatter than others. Every player likes them different. I don't like just an extreme curve, but I don't like a flat plane either. So that's what I'm working on doing. There'll be a little trial and error here, but we're getting very close to the end of the project. One more thing, and then I'll close this video out. I also want to be careful here because I don't want these strings to scratch anything. I've also started this. This is all by hand with a very coarse grit sandpaper, and it's actually doing better than I thought. There is a chip here, and see, this is really sharp. It's razor, so I'm going to work on this. I'm going to probably bring this wear down onto this contour some. It'll look good. I mean, it's going to look like, but see, this is where that big chunk was missing. It's now smooth, and so I'm going to keep going until this finish, and it's going to kind of take on its own, and I got a little more work here, but this is going to turn out good. And then I think I'm going to take some candle wax and rub it into this grain to kind of give it a sweated on look. So I'm going to try that and see. I think it'll look pretty good. So anyway, that's the latest on the project. So next, after I hang up here, I'm going to shim the neck and string her back up and see what we get on our measurements. But I have plugged it in. The electronics work. It actually sounds pretty killer. It just needs a little TLC to even it out. So more coming your way in video number 9. Bye for now.